A known Sureno and Inland Empire gang member went on a murderous rampage over Thanksgiving weekend on 2023. He allegedly shot and killed 3 people and attempted to murder a 4th in 2 separate incidents. Luis Peter Hernandez III, who goes by the street name Wicked, was an infamous and very violent gang member with a rap sheet a mile long. He went into a 2-story home in the 15500 block on East Wind Avenue in northern Fontana, California at around 5 a.m. on November 25th, 2023, whereupon he shot and killed Romaldo De La Rosa, 54, of Colton, California, on the 1st floor. And upon getting up to the 2nd floor, he then shot Angelina Urbano, 26 years old, of San Bernardino, before leaving the residence. Urbano was described as Hernandez's current girlfriend. A 911 call summoning paramedics and Fontana police was made shortly thereafter. When the officers arrived at the Fontana Police Department at around 5:30 a.m., they were met by 2 young, distraught, and hysterical women who came running out of the house upon the officers' arrival. Inside, the officers came across the deceased body of De La Rosa, who was on the ground floor, and severely wounded Urbano upstairs. Urbano was transported to Kaiser Hospital, where she was placed in the intensive care unit, where she ultimately would pass away from the gunshot wounds. The following morning, on November 26, 2023, at around 9:38 a.m., the California Highway Patrol received a report of a woman and a man in separate vehicles suffering from gunshot wounds at the park and ride lot near Etiwanda Avenue and Mission Boulevard off the 60 freeway in Jurupa Valley. The woman, Diane Coeur, was found dead in a silver 2002 Pontiac Grand Prix. Coeur had since been identified as Hernandez's former high school girlfriend. The other victim, a man in a 2003 Nissan Altima, was shot by Hernandez, apparently to silence him as a witness to the killing of Coeur. Though injured, the man survived when a pickup stopped at a nearby red light. The still armed Hernandez boarded it, remaining in the bed of the pickup. According to the California Highway Patrol, there was no verbal exchange between the driver, who did not know his unwelcome passenger. The driver was so frightened he continued to drive towards Ontario. This case would shed light on the continuing rise in gang violence, the continuing rise in domestic violence and assaults, and those assaults that quickly turn into murders. And to be frank, the absolute tragic situation that is currently going on in California with their justice system, and how offenders are being let out with a mere slap on the wrist or very light restrictions, and due to the fact that there is so much violence and an overcrowding within jails and prisons, people slip between the cracks, just like Luis Peter Hernandez III did. And this violent rampage could have absolutely been avoided had he served the time that he was sentenced. In the career of crime that he had continued throughout, Hernandez should have never, ever been released early.
And just be with us, Lord, during this difficult time.
3 families are mourning the loss of their loved ones. Romaldo De La Rosa, also known as Uncle Roy, Angelina Urbano, and Diane Coeur.
The way it happened makes it even worse.
The shooting spree started in a quiet, normally peaceful Fontana neighborhood. Inside this house, something went horribly wrong on November 25th.
I heard 2 loud booms. Boom, boom.
Irma Navarro lives across the street. At first, she wasn't sure what to make of it.
Then I see that there's a woman in the driveway, very distraught, and lots of police officers.
When Coroner Vance arrived, she knew 2 people had lost their lives. They were Uncle Roy and Angelina Urbano. But the shooter wasn't done. He then drove miles to Jurupa Valley, where he shot another woman, Diana Coeur, and an unidentified man who survived his injuries.
So we just, that's all we want to know is just why.
Police arrested this man, 41-year-old Luis Peter Hernandez III of San Bernardino, a known gang member who goes by the moniker Wicked. Hernandez has a lengthy criminal record and was out on probation. Police say Angelina Urbano was his current girlfriend and Diane was his ex, high school girlfriend.
They were dating in their teenage years, and we just assumed that like they were soulmates, pretty much. That's what it seemed like, and everybody thought they were best friends. So just shocking to us.
It's also shocking for the De La Rosa family, who say Uncle Roy had no problems with anyone.
I have the biggest hole in my heart, and I pray to God that you get the justice you deserve.
Hernandez has been charged with 3 counts of murder and 1 count of assault with a firearm. As for the victims' families...
Chris Blatchford reports a gangbanger's death got some people thinking about a better way.
LA County gang right here, dog.
John, whose nickname is Dreamer, comes from Whittier but now lives in the Inland Empire. He pulls on some 16-ounce gloves and readies for a fight.
Hey, now!
His challenger, a 16-year-old known as Psycho, belongs to an Inland Empire gang called LGF, or La Gran Familia.
Watch out, Dust.
As he steps up, a half dozen of his homies stand back, still more than a little suspicious about what is going on. The opponents tap gloves, then exchange blows.
Come on, John, what's up,
Dreamer quickly loses his balance and goes down. The small backyard crowd gets into it, and the cheers are just as loud as Dreamer later puts Psycho into retreat. Dreamer hopes boxing might wake fellow gangsters up.
So instead of using guns, pick up the fist. Now there's not so many murders and stuff. That way you just handle it. You go on with your business.
It is already too late for Joe Tiny Marquez, who 2 weeks ago was murdered in a gangland execution-style hit. Victor Bosco Hamilton, an 18th Street veterano, was a friend of Tiny's and has turned his backyard into a boxing ring for the night in his memory, in hopes of bringing some peace among gangs in the Inland Empire.
We want to bring, these youngsters together instead of them on the streets, maybe hoping, he ended up like he did.
There are representatives of at least 4 different gangs here.
I.e. LA!
A mixture of gangsters who have moved here from the LA area and those who have grown up in the Inland Empire, a traditional source of sometimes deadly friction. The boxing theory is simple. It is better to pound each other with leather as opposed to lead. A theory not lost on 16-year-old Peanut.
I bet you almost everyone here lost someone in their family to gang violence. It's not right. Boxing's more down, you know what I mean? It don't matter if you get your ass beat or not, you know what I mean? You still living.
When a few of these fights start getting out of hand,
Getting violent, that's enough.
gang members step in and put a stop to it. It all goes fairly well. And when it's over, teenage gangsters like Grumpy, who had 3 bouts and a bloody nose, still had 18th Street tattooed on his stomach, but had a smile on his face and a new thought in his head.
Instead of killing each other, we could just take it out on gloves, So I think it's a lot better.
There were a dozen fights here in Bosco's backyard, a few bloody noses, no broken bones, and no dead bodies. And in the end, these potentially violent rivals wanted to pose for a picture together.
What's going on, you guys? Welcome back. Another episode of Greenlit Gang TV. Much love, much appreciation. Thank you guys for checking out the channel. I found this story. Man, I was going to do this story a few months ago. I'll be honest. It was a little frustrating because the story seemed so good. And there was so much written about it, but I couldn't find the news coverage I wanted. So, guys, I posted the one news clip I could find. I also posted this other one, kind of the throwback, because I just thought it was interesting. Like, all this takes place in the Inland Empire. I read up on the history of the Inland Empire and the gang situation. So I did like posting that old news clips, showing the gang members trying to box and trying to stay out of basically extreme violence and killing each other. Just thought you guys would like seeing that stuff. I've gotten a lot of positive feedback when I post the old news clips. If you guys want to check out a good channel that does that a lot, it's a channel by the name of Mob Facts. It's a really cool channel. And I give whoever makes that channel credit because there's some really cool old news clips when they tell their stories. But anyway, we're going to be talking about just pretty much a tragic case. Luis Peter Hernandez III, who went by the name of Wicked, was born June 20th, 1982. It's one of those things, man, where you hate saying lock up and throw away the key to certain people, but when you hear about this case and what just for no reason 3 people were murdered and almost a 4th, and then you hear about his basically career of criminality, kind of like I mentioned in the intro, again, I'm not just pointing to California. There's a lot of states that are, super lax on crime. And again, I'm not somebody, I've got to pass myself. I'm not somebody that thinks you lock them up, throw away the key, 3 strikes, you're out, but if you're a career violent, and that's kind of the thing, if you have a really career or a really bad history of violence against women, against other gang members, it just, when's enough? And California, whether you guys like it or not, man, they do not have a good track record. Governor Newsom is, I think, the worst thing that's happened to California in a long time. I'll just say it. I think he is bad for y'all's state. If any of you are in California, I think he's bad for y'all's state. I don't think you should feel safe. It's a beautiful state. California is amazing. There are so many beautiful parts. They have a countryside. They have the city. They've got the ocean. They've got, like I said, farmland. California's got everything. Amazing food, amazing people, amazing culture, amazing weather, but it's just become so liberal. It's become so one-sided. And I don't care what you say. When you are inundated with offenders and you have so much overcrowding going on in jails and prisons, people slip through the cracks. These probation officers, parole officers, their caseloads are massive. This case really shed light on that for me. When you hear about him, because he was out on parole, probation, for his history of crime. So really quick, we're just going to talk about, before we talk more about the actual crime itself, we're going to talk about his past. Okay, so Hernandez III, 41 years old, goes, and that was at the time of the offense, he goes by multiple aliases, including Carlos Ivan Herrera, Luis P. Hernandez, Luis Pete Hernandez, Luis Peter Hernandez, Jr., Jacob Hernandez, Luis Perez Hernandez. So he wouldn't change it too much, just little bits here and there. And he was on post-prison release community supervision as of July 20th, 2023. He had past parole violations, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, so just remember, gets released, okay? He has parole violations on September 29th of 16, November 11th of 16, December 12th of 16. That's 3 within 4 months. Another one on November of 2017, September 5th of 18, and October 16th of 2019. So multiple violations. He was convicted on a charge of vehicle theft that had occurred on December 10th, 2016. He was convicted on a felony charge of evading a police officer in wanton disregard of public safety, which happened out of an incident that occurred on December 10th, 2016. He was convicted of being a felon in possession of a loaded firearm stemming from an incident on September 10th of 2003. He was convicted of felony auto theft relating to an incident that occurred on December 27th, 2019. He was convicted of a felon in possession of a loaded firearm stemming from an incident back in September of 2020. He was convicted of misdemeanor petty theft and misdemeanor receiving stolen property back on June 22nd of 2005. These are all new charges. He was convicted of a felony vehicle theft stemming from an incident on October 8th, 2003, convicted of felony vehicle theft July 28th, 2001. He was convicted of using a firearm in the perpetrating of an assault in an encounter that occurred back in June of 2006. Another vehicle theft in 2017, evading police back in 2021. Another auto theft. Man, he's got so many freaking auto theft charges. Oh my God. So, yeah, I'm just like, man. And then you hear about these people he killed, okay? His current girlfriend, 26-year-old Angelica Francisco Urbano, right? It's from San Bernardino. 3 kids, guys. 3 kids. Josiah, Serenity, Nevaeh. A loving family member, 54-year-old Romaldo De La Rosa. They said the guy was beloved by all of his family. They started to GoFundMe. Pictures don't tell everything. They don't tell the whole story, but you can see in his picture, he's a big guy. He's got a big smile. I want you guys, and then hold on a sec before I say any more. And then Diana Kruger, which was his high school girlfriend. Okay, he's 41 when he does this, so he's 25 freaking years out of high school, and he's going after his ex-girlfriend from high school. Maybe they carried on in their early 20s, but. And then I guess you could say, if you're trying to play devil's advocate with it, well, why are they dating a guy like that? Or why are they still talking to a guy like that? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't walk. He walked into where Urbano and Romaldo were at, on that November 25th morning at 5 a.m. and just started shooting. Said he had a handgun, okay? So he first encounters Romaldo De La Rosa, okay? Shoots him dead. Goes up to the second floor, shoots Angelina Urbano. She's clinging to life like we talked about in the intro. They get to Kaiser Hospital. She passes away, all right? Police are still trying to figure everything out. I'm sure those two girls that came running out of the house, they were maybe hiding. I don't know how he didn't get to them, but he didn't, okay? They tell police, hey, this is what's going on, okay? And then the following morning, okay, about 30 hours later, California Highway Patrol gets a report of a woman and a man in separate vehicles, all right? The woman is his high school girlfriend, Diana Kruger. She is shot dead in an '02 Pontiac Grand Prix. And the poor guy, that poor bastard in the '03 Altima, he's just sitting there watching what's going on. I mean, could you imagine? You're just sitting there. You see a girl get smoked right next to you. And that guy's coming for you. He's coming for you because he knows that you just saw what happened. And then he shoots you. And it's like, play dead, roll over. I don't know, but it's a wrap, He's lucky to be alive. That's a God moment. The only reason you're alive is because of God himself. It's just crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. And then, they're getting all these 911 calls. The driver, he hops into the back of a pickup truck that was parked at a red light. He's still armed. The truck driver is so scared. There's no verbal exchange, right? The driver doesn't go, hey, what are you doing? Hey, get out of my truck. He knows. And I think, and you can kind of picture that, right? You're sitting there in the drive, you're at a light, you're parked, you got your truck. You see this guy. He's just murdered 3 people. He thinks he's murdered 4, okay? I'm sure there's just, maybe he didn't see the gun, but I'm sure there's just a sense of nothing needs to be said. Your life is in danger. So there's no exchange. He did not know his unwelcome passenger. Frightened, the driver continued toward Ontario. At Haven and Mission Avenue, Hernandez jumps out of the truck bed. The driver calls 911 to report what had occurred. So now we're at 2 or 3 911 calls. 3, because the girls in the house that survived the initial shooting on the 25th. Then you've got the guy of the '03 Altima after he's shot. That is right after Hernandez shoots and killed Diane Courier in her '02 Pontiac. And now this guy who was the driver of the truck. Shortly thereafter, Hernandez was arrested by the Ontario Police Department. He was in possession of the gun that was believed to be used in the previous day's shootings. And then, like we said, tragically, Urbano, she died on November 28th from her gunshot wounds that happened the day of the shooting. And now, kind of, it's as depressing. Now, he has been a long-time Sureno gang member, okay? So he's been putting in work for a long time. So when you see the auto theft charges and all that, I'm assuming, it's hard to say. I'm sure there's a lot of drug use that goes on. Sometimes you can tell when somebody's just a mugshot. That person is using drugs one way or the other. You never want to assume, but when you've been doing stuff that long, and you've been jacking cars that long, when you've been doing things like that, those things kind of go hand in hand. It's all in the furtherance of the gang. You're dealing drugs. You're on the run. You're on the go. You're in and out of prison. You're in and out of jail. And, interestingly enough, when I was kind of doing research and stuff on the Inland Empire and stuff like that, It's an area, the Inland Empire, so it's a metropolitan area in Southern California that includes the counties of Riverside and San Bernardino. Okay, the Inland Empire is located east of LA and Orange counties, and it's like north of San Diego County, so hopefully that kind of gives you guys an idea of where it's at. The region is known for its mix of historic and contemporary neighborhoods and is actually home to many colleges and universities. And that's kind of, and also you guys know the Ontario International Airport, the fastest growing airport in the U.S., kind of gives you, when I was saying that he was driving towards Ontario, it gives you an idea of where that's at. Now, a lot of people, when I was reading through this, some of these areas, guys, like some of these areas in San Bernardino and Riverside and some of these other, like, these are very nice, ritzy, rich areas. And I think, that kind of gives an idea of California as a whole, where literally you can be in $1 million neighborhood, take 2 lefts, and you're in the hood. And you're running into active gang members, active blocks. That stuff is going on all the time, each and every day. And, it's what makes California so interesting. It's what makes, so notorious as well. And what makes California's prison system so crazy and so unique, because you have such a mix of people and such a mix of races. But the Inland Empire, it's basically all Sureno. Now there are different sets of, I'm sure there's little different Norteño sets and stuff like that, but if you look at it on the map like I posted, it is Southern California. It is Southern California. You are way deep in that territory. That is Sur 13 territory, Sureno territory all day. Numbers are huge. And then you want to talk about the political side of it. And, making this video, that is what I wanted to talk about a little bit on it, because, the case is so cut and dry when you read the story, but it's like, this is just an example of the justice system, and I think what's wrong with it is this guy, how many auto thefts was that? Those are violent auto theft. I mean, some of those I'm sure where, okay, maybe the person he's stealing the car from isn't in the car, but there were some where the person was in the car. Possession of a firearm, assault. And that's the other thing, when these murder charges hit, the murder charges are enough, but he's going to be hit with so many special circumstances, gang enhancements, firearm enhancements. They're going to, because, and this is the thing, and if any of you have been through the justice system or in jail or prison, or family members who are in jail or prison, you'll know what I'm saying. You are going to piss them off. The state's attorney, if you make them look dumb, which Luis Peter Hernandez III, or Wicked, did, he made them look dumb. Because what's the first thing you see in the media? All these headlines, I put pictures up. Gang member on parole. History of violence, murders 3. What does that tell you? How does that make them look? It makes them look dumb. It makes it look like Hernandez slipped through the cracks. It makes it look like what I said. It's messed up. They're overloaded with caseloads. They're overloaded in jails and prisons. They're understaffed. They're underpaid. Comment down below, please, if you know what I'm talking about. If you've done time in a California prison or a California jail, or, you know what, guys, I love honesty. If you're someone who's, out doing your thing, if you're an active gang member listening to this, if you're someone who knows somebody who is, and they've, been arrested 40 times and have 15 felonies, but, they basically are getting a slap on the wrist, or, you failed 100 UAs, but you're still getting, another opportunity, or you're just getting little 10-day, 20-day violations. Comment. Tell me your story. I love hearing this stuff. I love hearing about it. It's real. That's what I think about when I read this, because sometimes we focus so much on the gang stuff, and obviously he's a gang member, but this is different. This is more, he felt like he had a right. He really did. He felt like he had a right to go kill his girlfriend and ex-girlfriend, and whoever got in the way of that was going to get killed too. So, unfortunately, De La Rosa, the driver of the 03 Altima, they were just pawns in all this, and I'm gonna, again, I try to kind of end my videos on a positive note, or, given what, I don't want to say giving advice. I don't want to be the guy that, you guys need to hear what I have to say. I don't ever want to come across like that. But, having been affected or knowing people that are affected by domestic violence and things of that nature, Peter Hernandez III, he's been, in his mind probably amounted to not much. A life of crime, a life of drug use, a life that is probably very lonely and very empty. And you're in your 40s, you're not young anymore. I think he snapped, and I think he decided that, you know what, if I can't be happy and I'm miserable, I'm taking out those that I blame for my misery or unhappiness. And, this goes to any women out there that are listening, get out. I will say that I have been affected by it. Not like my family. Obviously you see things growing up, but I have a very, very close friend whose daughter was murdered by her husband. And, very, very big deal here. And, it affected everybody. And it was, just one of those things where you kind of don't see it coming. And I'm sure Urbano and Diane Cord, they didn't see it coming either when they were gunned down. And just be careful. Just always be careful. And I would venture to say, I hate always bringing up drugs sometimes when I don't know, but I would say that drug use definitely played a part. I feel like it plays a part in our criminal justice system. Not 100%, but I'd say 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 people that are locked up, they have some sort of addiction or some sort of drug issue that was tied into their crime or played a part in it in some way. And I would almost venture to say that Luis Peter Hernandez, because he snapped, maybe went on one last run, maybe went on one last hurrah, and, you get tired. Even a guy like that, he's in and out. You're tired. You're tired of running and gunning. It's not the same when you're 41 as when you were 21 or 31. So, sorry if I rambled a bit, guys. I just really thought this video was important to bring. It just talks about a lot of different things, especially with our justice system. Again, I am not somebody that is lock them up, throw away. I'm not. If I was not given multiple chances, I would not be here. I didn't make it on my second chance. My job I'm currently at now, they hired and fired me 3 times because of drug use. My job hired and fired me 3 times because of drug use. The last time was technically like a suspension right around COVID. COVID was the best thing that ever happened. It allowed me to get clean and flush out. My sober date is March 10th, 2020. I would love to hear what your guys' sober day is. Comment down below. What is your sober day? Congratulations to anybody who's making it. I pray for those who are struggling. You take one day at a time. You do the absolute best you can, and you don't do it for anybody but yourself. Or if you've got kids, you do it for kids. There's nothing wrong with, hey, I'm doing it for my kids. I'm doing it for my mom, my dad. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, you got to love yourself. You got to do it for yourself. And you have to learn to love yourself before you can take care of other people. If you don't love yourself, if you don't like who you see in the mirror, if you can't, I remember times I couldn't look at myself in the mirror. Things I was going through, things I was doing, I couldn't even look at myself in the mirror because of the choices and the decisions and where I was at in life. So if you are going through that right now, comment down below, reach out. We'll say a prayer for you, and don't find yourself where it's too late. And anyway, RIP to the victims. This just touched on so many different subjects. We need criminal justice reform, guys. The election is coming up. Vote for who you think is going to make the biggest impact on your life. Don't vote for who your friends or family are telling you to vote for. Vote for who you think is going to make the impact on your life. But we need reform in this country. We got to have balance. Balance is so key in life, whether you're recovering from addiction, whether you're recovering from a bad relationship, whether you're trying to find balance with your work and family life, The same can be said for our justice system. The same can be said for our recovery system. You do what works for you. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. And until next time.